Hello, word nerds. Welcome to me talking to your face. First word for this episode is Armistice Day. Two separate words. The A and the D are capitalized. This is a noun from 1918. The synonym is Veterans Day. That is how we here in America say it. I think it was changed. What does it say? Let me tell you. It says, used before the official adoption of Veterans Day in 1954. So I think, let's read the etymology. I keep on trying to get ahead of myself. All right, this is from the Armistice terminating World War I on November 11th, 1918. So at the end of World War I, they basically had a truce and said, we're done. And November 11th is Armistice Day, 1918. And then after World War II, almost a decade after World War II, they decided to change the name to Veterans Day. At least here in America. In the UK, they might still call it Armistice Day. Next, we have armlet. This is a noun from 1535. 1. A band, as of cloth or metal, worn around the upper arm. Number 2. A small arm, as of the sea. And this would be, if you go back to our previous episode, armband, it's pretty much the same thing. Although armband has a little bit more of a specific definition. Excuse me for that belch. Next, we have armload. This is all one word. It's a noun from 1823, and the synonym is armful, or armful. Now we have armlock. This is a noun from 1853. We have the synonym hammerlock. Okay, I don't know what that is. Next, we have armoire. This is a noun from 1571, a usually tall cupboard or wardrobe. Next, we have armor, A-R-M-O-R. This is a noun from 13th century. 1. Defensive covering for the body, especially covering, as of metal, used in combat. I'm glad I've never had to wear armor, because that looks like it's very difficult to move. Number 2, a quality or circumstance that affords protection, as in the armor of prosperity. Number 3, a protective outer layer as of a ship, a plant or animal, or a cable. And of course, the armadillo has some natural armor. Number 4, armored forces and vehicles as tanks. Armor could also be a transitive verb, and armorless is an adjective. And this is, what do we want to say? This is from Latin armatura, and there's more at the word armature. There is a little picture of armor, and it has 14 little points to discuss. So we are going to take a little bit of time, ease in, get your coffee, get your tea, get your hot chocolate, get your water, get your cheese and crackers, whatever you've got, get it and sit down with me while I tell you about armor. All right, number 1 is the helmet. I think you know where that goes. Number 2 is the gorget, G-O-R-G-E-T. This is, it looks like it's the part that goes around the neck. Number 3 is the shoulder piece, and that goes on your foot. No, I'm just kidding. It goes on your shoulder. Number 4 is the pallet, P-A-L-L-E-T-T-E. So this is the part, it's a circle, and it looks like it goes over the shoulder piece, and it probably holds it into place. And it also probably provides some extra protection in that very sensitive area where your shoulder meets your torso. Now we have number 5. It is the breastplate. So that's the part that just basically goes over your whole torso in the front. Number 6 is the brassard, B-R-A-S-S-A-R-D. This looks like, this goes on the upper arm. It goes around the upper arm, so right below the shoulder piece, where your biceps and triceps are. Number 7 is the elbow piece. Again, I think you can figure that out. Number 8. Man, I'm just thinking about like all the work it takes to put one of these on. And like you got to put it in the right order because it looks like the elbow piece goes over number 6, which is the brassard. Oh boy. All right, number 8 is the skirt of tasses. Tasses is spelled Tasses. So that basically just goes around your waist and it hangs down to protect you. Number 9 is sort of similar. It is the tweel or twee, Tuille. So this looks like there's one on each hip. So number 8 actually hangs down more towards the center to protect the sensitive pieces, and number 9 protects the sides. And it looks like there might be 2 of those, one for each side, because that's how it works. Number 10 is the gauntlet. This is the handpiece. I honestly didn't even know this when I was watching Avengers. They keep on talking about how the thing on oh my god, why am I blanking? What's his name with the T? Am I gonna have to look this up? All of you are just yelling at me right now. His name is Thanos. That's his name. So Thanos has the thing where he puts the gems in, and that is called a gauntlet. And I was like, I thought a gauntlet was something else. But no, it's a thing that you put on your hand that's kind of like armor. All right. Number 11 is the cuisse. That's not how you say that. Cuisse. This is the part that goes around your thigh. Number 12 is the knee piece. Clever name. That goes on your knee. Number 13 is the jambeau. That looks like a French word. Jambeau. And that goes on, basically it covers your shins. And number 14, finally, is the soleret. Solleret. And that goes over your foot. And now I feel like I am smarter. All right, where were we? We finished armor. Now we are on to armored. This is an adjective from 1594. 1A, equipped or protected with armor. 1B, equipped with armored fighting vehicles, as in an armored division. Number 2, marked by the use of armor, as in armored combat. Next is armored scale. This is 2 words. It's a noun from 1888. Any of a family of scale insects having a firm covering of wax best developed in the female. The scientific name for the family is Diaspid... Oh boy, it goes over the line, so that's why it's weird. Diaspididae. And why are they called scale insects? That's weird to me. Is that I don't know. Okay, next is armorer. This is a noun from the 14th century. 1, one that makes armor or arms. 2, one that repairs, assembles, and tests firearms. Next we have armorial. Armorial. This is an adjective from 1576 of relating to or bearing heraldic arms. Armorially is an adverb. Next we have armorican, capital Armorican. This is a noun from 1606, a native or inhabitant of Armorica, especially the synonym Breton, Breton. I don't know if that's how it's pronounced. Armorican or armoric are adjectives, and I'm sorry, I don't know what Armorica is, so I'm going to have to look that up. Next we have armory. This is a noun from the 14th century. 1A, a supply of arms for defense and attack, or attack. A supply of arms for defense or attack. 1B, a collection of available resources. 2, a place where arms and military equipment are stored, especially one used for training reserve military personnel. Number 3, a place where arms are manufactured. Next we have armor or armory, spelled Armour. and this is the chiefly British variation of armor and armory without the U. Next, we have armpit. This might be the word of the episode. I mean, how could I not pick armpit? This is a noun from the 14th century. 1. The hollow beneath the junction of the arm and shoulder. 2. The least desirable place. That's funny. A synonym is pit, P-I-T, as in 77th Street Station was the armpit of detective duty. That is from Joseph Wambaugh. When I was a kid, there were other kids who would be able to make noises with their armpit, and I could never do that. I did learn eventually how to do it with my hands, but I honestly haven't tried with my armpit because I'm an adult, but I might have to try that out. But I'm going to give you a little example of making the noise with my hands. 1 second while I put the microphone down, because I need both hands. Well, that was kind of a terrible example, but I think you get the idea. We are going to move on to armrest. I really did not think I would ever be doing that on this podcast. Armrest. This is a noun from 1849, a support for the arm. Next is arm's length. 2 words. There is an apostrophe before the S in arms. This is a noun from 1707. 1. A distance discouraging personal contact or familiarity, as in, kept former friends at arm's length now. Number 2, the condition or fact that the parties to a transaction are independent and on an equal footing. Arm's length with a hyphen is an adjective. And let's see, I have to figure out if we're going to do one of these words. Yeah, we'll do that. All right, next is arms race. This is 2 words. It's a noun from 1924, a race between hostile nations to accumulate or develop weapons, broadly, an ever-escalating race or competition. And last for this episode is arm twisting. There is a hyphen between the 2 words. This is a noun from 1948, the use of direct personal pressure in order to achieve a desired end, as in, for all... Let me start that over. For all the arm twisting, the vote on the measure was unexpectedly tight. That is from Newsweek, and I had to do a page flip there. Arm twist is a verb. So let's see. Do we pick armor as the word of the episode because I spent so much time on it, or do I pick armpit? I'm going to make the runner-up be armpit, and the main word of the episode is armor. And that is it for this episode. Thank you very much for listening. We do have a very, very good, fun holiday coming up, but I'm going to let you figure that out on your own. All right, I will talk to you later. Goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Welcome to a brand new episode of this podcast, The Dictionary. I don't even know what I was about to say there. So, hi, how are you? What's going on? Every morning when my new episodes are released, I listen to them. I want to make sure that I didn't make any mistakes in terms of the editing, which I'm not doing anymore. And I also just listen to figure out what I'm going to post on Instagram. If you are not following my Instagram, you should go do that. I think it's just at dictionarypod, although the link is in the episode description. What was I going to say? I was going to say that I realized that I have actually been making a lot of mistakes. For instance, I said something about the 3rd syllable where I meant the 2nd syllable, and I said something about a word, but I meant to say movie. So I am very fallible. I make a lot of mistakes. I am sorry. I'm not perfect. I know I sound like I am, but I'm not. I'm just like you. We are all imperfect human beings. And by being imperfect, we are therefore perfect. Should we talk about some words? Yeah, let's do that. Okay, the first word for this episode is arm wrestling. 2 separate words, ARM, WRESTLING. And before I get to the information for arm wrestling, I'm just going to say that this reminds me of a very memorable scene in the new third season, new in quotes, new third season of the show Twin Peaks. So if you've seen it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This is a noun from 1973. A form of wrestling in which two opponents sit face to face, gripping usually their right hands, set corresponding elbows firmly on a surface as a tabletop, and attempt to force each other's arm down, called also Indian wrestling. Yeah, that's arm wrestling. If you didn't know what that was, I got nothing for that. Next, we have the word army. Could also be armies. That's the plural of it. This is a noun from the 14th century. 1a, a large organized body of armed personnel trained for war, especially on land. 1b, a unit capable of independent action and consisting usually of a headquarters, two or more corps, that's CORPS, and auxiliary troops. 1c is often capitalized. The complete military organization of a nation for land warfare. Number 2, a great multitude, as in an army of birds. And the movie The Birds would fit that description very well. Number 3, a body of persons organized to advance a cause. Let's look at the etymology. It says it's from Middle Latin armata, and there's more at the word armada with a D. Now we have army ant. This is a noun. It's 2 words. From 1874. Any of a subfamily of aggressive nomadic tropical ants that prey on insects and spiders. The subfamily name is Dorylinae. Dorylinae. Now we have army worm. This is all one word. This is a noun from 1816. Any of numerous moths whose larvae travel in multitudes from field to field, destroying grass, grain, and other crops, especially the common armyworm of the eastern and central U.S. and Canada. And the scientific name for the common armyworm is Pseudaletia or Pseudaletia unipuncta or unipuncta. Shall I spell that for you? Yes, I shall. Pseudalettia. That's the first word. Second word is unipuncta. Now we have the word arnica. Arnica. This is a noun from circa 1753. Any of a genus of composite herbs, including some with bright yellow ray flowers. And the genus is just arnica. Now we have aroid. Yep, I think that's it. Aroid. Aroid. This is an adjective from 1886. Any or no. Start that one over again. Of or relating to the arum family. That's ARUM family. And aroid is also a noun. But no, it looks like it's more pronounced aroid. The first syllable is emphasized. Now we have aroint. So the second syllable is emphasized, and it has an NT at the end. Aroint. This is a verb from 1605. It is archaic. The synonym is the word begone. As in, we have an example. As in, aroint thee, which, and that is from Shakespeare. So somebody, not Shakespeare, but somebody is telling a witch to be gone. And it says the origin is unknown. We have no information on the etymology, so I would not be surprised if Shakespeare made up this word, because he made up a lot of words that we use in our day-to-day language, and it looks like this one didn't catch on. Sorry, Shakespeare, I can just imagine you sitting at your desk writing, aroint thee, witch, and thinking, oh, this is such a great word, aroint. People are going to love this word. They're going to be saying it for hundreds of years. Well, it didn't happen. Next, we have the word aroma. This is a noun from 1796. 1a, a distinctive, pervasive, and usually pleasant or savory smell, Broadly, we have the word odor. That's the synonym. 1b, the odor of a wine imparted by the grapes from which it is made. Number 2, a distinctive quality or atmosphere. Synonym is flavor, as in the aroma of enjoyment. And that is from Stella D. Gibbons. We have another synonym for all definitions. It is the word smell. Let's see, what does the etymology say? Nothing interesting. So we're going to move on. Next we have aromatase. So it's the word aroma with tase at the end. Let's see, this is a noun from 1984. An enzyme or complex of enzymes that promotes the conversion of an androgen into estrogen. That was an androgen, androgen, into estrogen. Now we have aromatherapy, and I have to use my fingers to figure out where halfway down the column is, and I'm going to say that this will be the last word for the episode. Aromatherapy, aromatherapy. This is a noun from 1949. Massage of the body. Ooh, I do need a massage badly. Massage of the body and especially of the face with a preparation of fragrant essential oils extracted from herbs, flowers, and fruits. Broadly, the use of aroma to enhance a feeling of well-being. Aromatherapeutic is an adjective, and aromatherapist is a noun. And of course, I can't see the word therapist without thinking of the Saturday Night Live sketch in Jeopardy. I think you know what I'm talking about. And if you don't, go look it up. Let's see, this is from Latin aroma plus the French thérapie, which means therapy. And I was just in Paris. I was there for work, and I had about a day and a half free, and so French has sort of ingrained itself a little bit into my brain, and I'm sure it will slowly dissipate. But I went into a building today, and my first instinct was to say bonjour, but I was like, no, I'm in America. We don't say those things here in America. But it was just funny how that happened. I actually was planning on doing this recording the day I arrived, which was a few days ago, and I wanted to make some stupid joke, which I'm just gonna save it. I'm gonna save it for if another time that I come from come from the airport and I record this right away. I'm gonna save that stupid joke. All right. Yep, I finished it. I read all the words that I was supposed to read to you. What is the word that I want to pick? I'm just going to pick arm wrestling. That's a kind of a fun one. I feel like I'm terrible at arm wrestling. I actually had to get up in front of a group of people and arm wrestle somebody at a show in Chicago many, many years ago. And it was very embarrassing because I lost and I knew that I would lose. That's my arm wrestling story. Okay, that's the end of the episode. Thank you very much for listening. Follow me on the Twitter and Instagram and send me an email and write me a review, subscribe, all those things. You know what to do. You're not an idiot. You listen to podcasts. And until next time, this is Spencer reading the dictionary. Thank you and goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Welcome to me talking to you. I hope you are doing well. I hope you are enjoying this podcast. I hope that you started from the beginning and are working your way through, because if you are starting here in the mid to late A's, you have missed a lot. You will not understand what I'm talking about, so you should go back to the beginning. All right, the first word for this episode is aromatic, aromatic. This is the first form of to. Pause while I think about nothing. This is an adjective from the 14th century. 1. Of relating to or having aroma. 1a. Oh, and then after aroma, there's a colon. So we get into then 1a, we have the synonym fragrant. 1b. Having a strong smell. 1c. Having a distinctive quality. Number 2. And in italics, it says of an organic compound. So the definition for number 2, which is of an organic compound, says characterized by increased chemical stability resulting from the delocalization of electrons in a ring system, as benzene, containing usually multiple conjugated double bonds. Compare to the synonyms, or just the other words, alicyclic, I think that's how it's pronounced, and aliphatic. So those are probably similar but different. And we do have a synonym for all definitions. It is the word odorous. That is how I describe myself. I am rather odorous. Let's see. Aromatically is an adverb. Aromaticity is a noun. And of course, I have to mention something that my mom and her friend did when I was young. They started a little company called Aromantics. So similar to this word aromatic. And they basically made little things, various things that had potpourri in them, and they smelled really nice. And some of them had sort of clay heads on top, and then the body was basically like a bag of potpourri. And so that just seeing those clay faces have such a distinctive place in my memory from when I was a kid. Very fond memories of that little thing that they did for a little bit. But now we have the second form of aromatic. This is a noun from the 15th century. 1. An aromatic plant or plant part, especially an aromatic herb or spice. Number 2. An aromatic organic compound. Now we have, let's see, is it aromatize? Aromatize. I think that's how it is pronounced. I'm not sure if I'm familiar with this form. Let's see. It is an intransitive verb from the 15th century. 1. To make aromatic. Synonym is flavor. So I'm going to flavor this dish with spices, and by doing that, I am also aromatizing it with wonderful aromas. Yeah, that makes sense. Number 2. To convert into one or more aromatic compounds. Aromatization is a noun. Now we have the word arose, A-R-O-S-E. This is the past of arise. So it's the past, is there another? It's just the past form of arise. I am arising, and I arose, and I will be arisen. Ooh, that sounds very religious. We're going to move on to the word around. This is the first form of 3. This is an adverb from the 14th century. 1a, in a circle or in circumference, as in the wheel goes around. Also as in a tree 5 feet around. 1b, in, along, or through a circuit, as in the road goes around by the lake. 2a, on all, it's going on to the next line. I have to make sure I follow it correctly. On all or various sides, colon, in every or any direction. And I'm still not 100% sure on what the colon is. I think it's more like here's another part to the definition that's sort of similar but a little bit different, so we have to separate them. It's not really another definition to require another letter, like to A, to B, but it's close enough to this one. So we're going to put it in the same place. Okay, we have examples for 2A. Papers lying around. Another example is nothing for miles around. Here we go to 2B. In close from all sides so as to surround. As in, people crowded around. 2C. In or near one's present place or situation. As in, we have examples for all of these. As in, wait around a while. I am not always a fan of waiting around a while. 3A, here and there, colon, from one place to another, as in, travels around on business. 3B, to a particular place, as in, come around for dinner. 3C, used with some verbs to indicate repeated or continued action, as in, always joking around when he should be serious. Also, as in, don't play around with your food. I don't know. Sometimes that's okay. 4A, in rotation or succession, as in, another winter comes around. winter is coming. It is coming. It's fall, and it's definitely getting colder. 4B, from beginning to end. Synonym is through, as in mild the year around. 4C, in order, as in the other way around. Did I say that right? Yes, I think I did. Number 5, there's a lot of definitions, I'm sorry. Number 5, in or to an opposite direction or position, as in turn around. I think there's a few songs. There's definitely a They Might Be Giants song that's called Turn Around. Turn around, there's a thing there that can't be found, turn around. All right, you don't want to hear me singing, but I think there's another song with turn around in it as well. Number 6, this is the last one. With some approach to exactness. Synonym is approximately, as in cost around $5. All right, now we have the second form of around. This is a preposition from the 14th century. 1A, on all sides of. 1B, so as to encircle or enclose, as in seated around the table. 1C, so as to avoid or get past, on or to another side of, as in find a way around their objections. Also as in went around the lake. That's the second time we've seen something that's going around a lake. Also as in, hoo boy, around the corner. Now we are going to move on to 1D. I'm sorry, there's lots and lots of definitions for the word around. 1D, we have the synonym near, as in lives around Chicago. Yes, I do. Also as in around the turn of the century. Number 2, in all directions outward from, as in look around you. Number 3, here and there, in or throughout. There's no comma. Let's try that one again. Here and there, in or throughout. Sure, why not? As in barnstorming around the country. Number 4, so as to have a center or basis in, as in a society organized around kinship ties. This very well could be the most boring episode I've ever had. All right, now we have the third and final form of the word around. It is an adjective from 1849. 1, we have the number 1 definition for the word about. And there's an example, as in, has been up and around for 2 days. Number 2, being in existence, evidence, or circulation, as in the most intelligent of the artists around today. That is from R.M. Coates. We have a little phrase. It is been. I would probably just say been around. I've been around. B-E-E. How many E's did I say? B-E-E-N. Around. And that means gone through many varied experiences, become worldly wise. All right, we are going to move on to the next word/phrase. It is around the clock. There are hyphens in between the words. This is an adjective from 1853. Being in effect, continuing, or lasting 24 hours a day. Synonym is constant, as in around-the-clock surveillance. Now we have the word arouse. This is a verb. Other forms are aroused and arousing. This is, yes, I said it's a verb. We are going to, from 1593, we're going to start with the transitive definitions. 1, to awaken from sleep. Number 2, to rouse or stimulate to action or to physiological readiness for activity. Synonym is excite, as in the book aroused debate. Now we have the intransitive definition. It is to awake from sleep, which is almost the same as the number 1 definition for the transitive form. And a synonym is stir, S-T-I-R. Arousal is a noun. Now we have arpeggiate, A-R-P-E-G-G-I-A-T-E. This is this is a transitive verb from 1953. To play as a chord or passage in arpeggio. So, arpeggio is the next one, so let's do that first. Arpeggio, this is a noun from 1724. And I'm thinking I forgot an etymology. I can skip it. Arpeggio. All right, number 1. Production of the tones of a chord in succession and not simultaneously. Number 2, a chord played in arpeggio. So on the piano, if you put your fingers on a chord, say a C major chord, C, E, and G, if you play them together, it just sounds like blum. But if you play them in an arpeggio, you'd play C, and then E, and then G. So it would go something like bum, bum, bum. I don't know if my tones are correct, but they're close. Let's see. Etymology. This is Italian from arpeggiare, which means to play on the harp. And that is from arpa, which means harp, and that is of Germanic origin, and it is akin to the Old High German harpa or harfa, Harpha, which also means harp. Okay, now we have the word arpent, Arpent. This is a noun from 1580. 1. Any of various old French units of land area, especially one used in French sections of Canada and the U.S. equal to about 0.85 acre, also 0.34 hectare. Number 2, a unit of length equal to one side of a square arpent. I have learned something new, but I probably won't remember it. Next, we have an interesting word. It is, arquebus? Sure, Arqueubus. It does not give me a pronunciation guide because this is a variation of the word harquebus. So it's the same word with an H at the beginning. We'll get to that in the H's. Next, we have ARR. This is an abbreviation for 1, arranged, or 2, arrival or arrive. Now we have Iraq. Actually, it could be Arak or Iraq. ARRACK or ARAK. This is a noun from 1521. An Asian alcoholic beverage like rum that is distilled from a fermented mash of malted rice with toddy or molasses. I've heard of a hot toddy, but I've never heard of toddy in that context. What is toddy? Is it like molasses? I should look into that. Let's see. Let's look at the etymology. It says it is ultimately from the Arabic arak, apostrophe ARAQ, which means sweet juice or liquor. I feel like I have heard of this. I may have even had some. I can't remember now. But let's move on to the last word. Oh, you know what? We're going to skip that. So the last word is going to be arak or Iraq, spelled both of those ways. And we're going to leave this next word for the next episode. And I don't want to pick a round, even though it took up the majority of the episode. So I'm going to pick not arpeggio, but I'm going to pick arpeggiate, because that is the act of playing in an arpeggio. I am very curious about what arquebus is, however you pronounce that word, and we'll get there later. All right, thank you very much for listening to me jammer on. I do sometimes think it would be fun to do this live, a live recording of a few episodes. I don't know if that would ever be feasible or ever even make any sense, or if I would get enough people who would actually want to listen to me do this, but, we would make it fun. I'd probably have some people come up and read a word or whatever. So yeah, maybe that's something that we can do in the future. How would you like that? Okay, until next time, this is Spencer reading the dictionary. Goodbye. Hello, word nerds. How are you? Today is, I guess we could call it Halloween Eve, but it's not Halloween yet. Our first word is arraign, ARRAIGN. This is a transitive verb from the 14th century. 1. To call a defendant before a court to answer to an indictment. Synonym is charge. And the part, I just want to specify, the part a defendant is actually in parentheses. So I think they're just kind of giving that as an example. The main definition would just be to call before a court to answer to an indictment, but I guess it wouldn't necessarily be a defendant, although that is probably the most likely occurrence, and that's why they put that there. All right, number 2, to accuse of wrong, inadequacy, or imperfection. Arraignment is a noun. By the way, if I didn't mention it before, we are on page 68, for those of you who are keeping track at home. Let's look at the etymology. This is from, well, Middle English, arinen, from Anglo-French, arisner. Pronunciation is so bad. And that is from Latin ad plus raisner, which means to address, from V Latin, whatever that means, rationare or rationare, which is from Latin ration or ration. I don't think they said it that way. They'd probably say ration or something, or ratio, which means reason, and there's more at the word reason. And I'm just going to figure out how long this episode is going to be. Somewhere, yeah, we'll do that. Okay. All right, next word is arrange. This is a verb from 1638. Transitive definitions are 1, to put into a proper order or into a correct or suitable sequence, relationship, or adjustment, as in arrange flowers in a vase. Also as in arrange cards alphabetically. And if we go back to one of our very early words, we can say those cards are abecedarian. Number 2, to make preparations for. Synonym is planned, as in arranged a reception for the visitor. 3a, to adapt a musical composition by scoring for voices or instruments other than those for which originally written. Number 3b, yep, that's a number. We have the synonym orchestrate. Number 4, to bring about an agreement or understanding concerning. What? To bring about an agreement or understanding concerning. And then we have the synonym settle. It's worded a little bit weirdly. As in, stutter, stutter, stutter. As in, arrange an exchange of war prisoners. Now we have the intransitive definitions. 1, to bring about an agreement or understanding, as in, arrange to have a table at the restaurant. Number 2, to make preparations. Synonym is plan, as in, arranged for a vacation with his family. And then we have another synonym. It is the word order. Arranger is a noun. They're probably arranging the bears in the national park because they are a park arranger. Next, we have arrangement. This is a noun from 1690. 1a, the state of being arranged. Synonym is order, as in everything in neat arrangement. 1b, the act of arranging, as in, lost my place, the arrangement of the details was quickly accomplished. Number 2, something arranged, as, to a preliminary measure. Synonym is preparation, as in travel arrangements. 2b, an adaptation of a musical composition by re-scoring. 2c, an informal agreement or settlement, especially on personal, social, or political matters, as in arrangements under the new regime. Number 3, something made by arranging parts or things together, as in a floral arrangement. Now we have arrant, A-R-R-A-N-T, or errant. This is an adjective. Oh, I'm just forgetting about etymology. Oh, you know what? Let's go back. Nothing crazy, but let's go back to the word arrange. The etymology says this is from Middle French arranger, which is from a plus ranger, which means to set in ranks. And that is from rank or rank, which means row, and there's more at the word rank. All right, back to errant. This is an adjective from the 14th century. Being notoriously without moderation. Synonym is extreme, as in, we are errant knaves, all believe none of us. And there was a lot of weird stuff in there. That is from Shakespeare. Let me see if I can say it again. Oh, by the way, knaves is Knaves. We are errant knaves, all. Or we are errant knaves, all. Believe none of us. And if you know anything about Shakespeare, it can be a little bit hard to read and understand. And I am by far not an expert on Shakespeare. Let's see. It looks like this is an alternative of the word errant, E-R-R-A-N-T. Errantly is an adverb. And I'm sure I'm not pronouncing this correctly, but it looks like I am. All right, now we have eris, or aris, A-R-R-A-S. This is a noun from the 15th century. 1. A tapestry of Flemish origin, used especially for wall hangings and curtains. 2. A wall hanging or screen of tapestry. Didn't know about that. It looks like this is from Arras, France. I guess that's a town or a city. Maybe that's where they created tapestries and wall hangings. I don't know. What are you asking me for? All right, let's see. We're going to do 2 more. They are both forms of the word array, A-R-R-A-Y. Let's do the first form. This is a transitive verb from the 14th century. 1. To dress or decorate, especially in splendid or impressive attire. Synonym is adorn, as in, he had already arrayed himself in his best clothes. And that is from Thomas Hardy. Array, yeah, that's how it's pronounced. I was questioning myself. All right, number 2, to in fact. To set or place in order. Synonyms are draw up and marshal, as in, the forces arrayed against us. To be, to set or set forth in order, as a jury, for the trial of a cause. Number 3, to arrange or display in or as if in an array, as in, the data are arrayed in descending order, and that is from Ed Burnett. Arrayer is a noun. And the etymology says this is from Anglo-French, arrayer, from something Latin, aridare, which is from ad plus, it just says a base of Germanic origin akin to the Gothic gareths, which means arranged, and there's more at the word ready. Now we are going to do the second form of array, and this will be the last word for this episode. This is a noun from the 14th century. 1a, a regular and imposing grouping of arrangement. Synonym is order, as in lined up in soldiery array. Soldiery, yep. Soldierly, actually. Let's do that one again. Lined up in soldierly array. And that is from Donald Barthelme, or Bartholomew, that. Don't know. Barthelme, B-A-R-T-H-E-L-M-E. 1b, where did it go? An orderly listing of jurors impaneled. 2a, we have the synonyms clothing and attire. 2b, rich or beautiful apparel. Synonym is finery. 3, a body of soldiers. Synonym is militia, as in the baron and his feudal array. Number 4, an imposing group, large number, as in faced a whole array of problems. Also the synonyms variety and assortment, as in, we have an additional example, a broad array of styles. Now we have 5a1, a number of mathematical elements arranged in rows and columns. 5a2, a data structure in which similar elements of data are arranged in a table. 5b, a series of statistical data arranged in classes in order of magnitude. Number 6, a group of elements forming a complete unit, as in an antenna array. And what is going to be the word of the episode? I'm going to pick the word arrangement. That's what I'm feeling. Specifically, the definition, where was it? Pause for time. God, where is it? An adaptation of a musical composition? No. Oh, you know what? I'm thinking of just the word arrange. There was one in there that was talking about, here we go, to adapt a musical composition by scoring for voices or instruments other than those for which originally written. So the word of the episode will be arrange. There was actually a time in my life where I took a piece of music and I started to arrange it for some saxophones. I used to play the saxophone, and I don't remember if I actually finished writing it all out, like writing it on, musical paper, like a staff and all that. I feel like I'm blanking on the word. I don't know if I ever finished it, but I really still like the idea of taking this song and arranging it for saxophones, some specific saxophones, actually. So maybe someday I will actually get that done, and I will be able to get a group of saxophone players together to play this song. Okay, that is it for this episode. Thank you very much for listening. I'm going to go ahead and record the last quarter of page 68, which is following on a very, very special day. Thank you and goodbye. Hello, word nerds, and welcome to a very scary episode of The Dictionary. I probably shouldn't do this voice the whole time because that's going to get incredibly irritating for you and destroy my voice. But yes, this is the Halloween episode. I don't even know what the hell is going on. All right, yeah, today's Halloween. I love this holiday. My wife loves this holiday more than I do, I think. And it's always just been a good, fun day. And it's Halloween month for us. October 1st to October 31st, it's Halloween all month. We watch horror movies. Our place is decorated. Probably will be for months after today. And, of course, when I'm recording this, it's 1 week to the day, 1 week away from Halloween. So I think tonight, on actual Halloween night, we are probably just going to relax and probably watch a horror movie, maybe even the original Halloween. But yeah, we've been celebrating all month. All right, let's get to the words. I have a feeling none of them will be Halloween related or scary related, but you never know. I have not looked at them ahead of time. So the first word is arrear. A-R-R-E-A-R. This is a noun from 1620. 1. The state of being behind in the discharge of obligations, usually used in plural, as in arrears with the rent. So I guess that means they're behind in the rent. Number 2. A. An unfinished duty, usually used in plural, as in arrears of work that have piled up. I can safely say I have never heard this form or this word before. I feel like I'm hearing some weird buzzing. I'm just going to put my phone on airplane mode just in case. Okay, where were we? All right. 2B, an unpaid and overdue debt, also usually used in plural, as in paying off the arrears of the past several months. So this is from Middle English arreare, which means behind or backward. I feel like I should figure out how to say arrear backwards. Arrear. Arrear. I think that's it. Let's see, and this is from Anglo-French arrear, which is from some sort of form of Latin ad retro, which means backward. And that is from ad, which means to, plus retro, which means backward. Or behind, and there's more at the words at, just at, and the prefix retro. All right, next we have arrearage. So it's the same word with age added at the end. This is a noun from the 14th century. 1. The condition of being in arrears. Number 2. Something that is in arrears, especially something unpaid and overdue. Next we have arrest. This is the first form of to. It's a transitive verb from the 14th century. 1a, to bring to a stop. Synonym is sickness. No, not a synonym. An example is sickness arrested his activities. 1b, synonyms are check and slow. 1c, to make inactive, as in an arrested tumor. Number 2, synonyms are just seize and capture, specifically to take or keep in custody by authority of law. Number 3, to catch suddenly and engagingly, as in arrest attention. Arrestor and arrestor are nouns, and arrestment is a noun. And the etymology is from Middle English arresten, which is from Anglo-French arrester, which means to stop or arrest. And that is from the Latin, which is arrestare, which is from ad plus restare, which means to remain. And there's more at the word rest. And I am going to cough off microphone because doing that ridiculous voice at the beginning did, in fact, scratch me up a little bit. There we go. Number 2, second form of arrest. This is a noun from the 14th century. 1a, the act of stopping. 1b, the condition of being stopped or inactive. And it says compare to cardiac arrest. Number 2, the taking or detaining in custody by authority of law. And then we have a phrase, it is under arrest, and that means in legal custody. Next, we are going to move on to arrestant, A-R-R-E-S-T-A-N-T. This is a noun from 1962. A substance that stimulates an insect to stop locomotion. What would that substance be? I don't know. Now we have arrestee. This is a noun from 1944, a person who is under arrest. Now we have arresting. This is an adjective from 1792, catching the attention. Synonyms are striking and impressive, as in an arresting image. Arrestingly is an adverb. Now we have the word arrhythmia. A-R-R-H. Let me start that over again. Don't want to confuse you in case you're writing this down. A-R-R-H-Y-T-H-M-I-A. This is a noun from circa 1860. An alteration in rhythm of the heartbeat, either in time or force. Something that you don't really want. So, this is from Greek, or it is Greek, which means lack of a rhythm, and that is from arrhythmos, which means unrhythmical, and that is from a plus rhythmos, which means rhythm. Some people have rhythm, and some people don't. Now we have arrhythmic. This is an adjective from 1853, lacking rhythm or regularity. Example is a rhythmic locomotor activity, and that is from the Greek arrhythmos. Now we have a word that I'm not sure I'm going to pronounce correctly. It is arrierban. I guess that's how it's pronounced. Arrierban. Oh, it looks French. A-R-R-I-E-R-E hyphen ban, B-A-N. Arrierban. There is an accent over the first E. This is a noun. Like I said, it's French. From 1523, a proclamation of a king, as of France, calling his vassals to arms. Also, the body of vassals summoned. I am probably going to have to go look up the correct pronunciation of this word. So, not like you're going to hear me pronounce it correctly, but at least then I'll know. And we have a similar word, which is next. It is arrière-pensée. Arrière-pensée. Yeah, I think that's right. So it is the same arrière hyphen plus P-E-N-S-E-E. There is another accent on the second to last E in pensée, but the accent is going the other direction. This is a noun from 1824, and it means mental reservation. So this is French from the word arrière, which means in back, plus penser, which means thought. So thought in back, I guess. All right, next we have aris, or eris, A-R-R-I-S. This is a noun from 1677. The sharp edge or salient angle formed by the meeting of two surfaces, especially in moldings. This is probably modified or a modified form of the Middle French arreste, which literally means fishbone, and that is from the Latin arista. And there's more at the word arete, A-R-E-T-E, and there is a little hat accent over the first E. We must have read that a while ago. All right, next we have Arrival. I don't know about you, but I really like that movie. It kind of broke my brain. All right, this is a noun from the 14th century. 1, the act of arriving. Number 2, the attainment of an end or state. Number 3, one that has recently arrived, as in new arrivals. Now we have the word arrive. This is an intransitive verb from the 13th century. 1a, to reach a destination. 1b, to make an appearance, as in the guests have arrived. Oh, great, the party shall start. Now we have 2a. This is archaic. The synonym is just the word happen. 2b, to be near in time. Synonym is come, C-O-M-E, as in the moment has arrived. Number 3. Yeah, well, after reading 4 episodes plus doing that stupid voice at the beginning, that will take a toll on the vocal cords. Number 3, to achieve success. Arriver is a noun. Arrive at. Oh, that is our phrase. It means to reach by effort or thought, as in arrived at a decision. This is from the Middle English arriven, which is from the Anglo-French arriver, which is from the V Latin arripare, which means to come to shore. And that is from the Latin ad plus ripa, which means shore, and there's more at the word rive or rive, R-I-V-E. All right, next we have arrive, A-R-R-I-V-E. There's an accent over the E. This is French again. It's a noun from 1925, one who has risen rapidly to success, power, or fame. Arrive. But I gotta say, those are probably not great situations. Having overnight success like that, oftentimes will probably just screw that person up, or it won't be a lasting success or fame. I have, what do I want to say? I have conflicting views about fame in general, but I feel like when you can have more of a slow rise to success and fame, I think that's probably better, if that's what you want. I think it's more lasting that way. I think it means more. You've put probably more proper work into getting to that point, and that is my opinion about that. So this is French from arriver, which means to arrive, and that is from the Old French, also arriver, but only with one R. Now we have arriviste. Arriviste. That's not Italian, it's French. A-R-R-I-V-I-S-T-E. This is a noun from 1901, one that is a new and uncertain arrival, parentheses, as in social position or artistic endeavor. I'm just contemplating that definition, that's all. Don't worry about me. All right, next we have arroba, A-R-R-O-B-A. This is a noun from 1555. 1. An old Spanish unit of weight equal to about 25 pounds. Number 2. An old Portuguese unit of weight equal to about 32 pounds. Wow. Spanish and Portuguese, they're using the same word, but they can't get the amount the same. This is in the etymology. It says, It is from Spanish and Portuguese, as we mentioned, which is from the Arabic al-rub, with an apostrophe at the end, and that literally means the quarter. I don't know what that means exactly. All right, now we are going to do one more word for this episode. It is the word arrogance, A-R-R-O-G-A-N-C-E. This is a noun from the 14th century, an attitude of superiority manifested in an overbearing manner or in presumptuous claims or assumptions. I have some strong feelings about this word arrogance, so I very well may pick that as the word of the episode, but let's look at the other ones. Where did we start? I think we started with array. No, that was the previous episode. Arrear, arrearage, arrest, arrestant, arrestee, arresting, arrhythmia, arrhythmic, arrere ban, arrere pense, arris, arrival, arrive, arrive, arrives, arriviste, arroba, and arrogance. I don't know why I just read all the words. I thought that maybe you needed a refresher. If you did, you're welcome. I have no idea. But yeah, I'm going to pick the word arrogance as the word of the episode. I just think it's completely ridiculous when people are arrogant, which, spoiler alert, is the first word of the next episode. Why do you need to be arrogant? You know, you can be super skilled, really talented in a certain thing. You could have every reason to be arrogant about a certain aspect of your life, the way you look, the way you act, whatever it is. But when you are arrogant, you come off like an ass, basically. You know, it creates a negative attitude towards people. It turns people away. It makes them not want to like you. At least that's my experience. All the times I'm arrogant. That's a joke. I feel like I'm not arrogant, although I am sure I have given off that attitude, and I probably never meant to do it. But yeah, arrogance is a very. I'm not a big fan of arrogance. It's just a very negative energy. That's how I feel. So we're going to end the episode there. I'm going to say one last time, happy, happy, happy Halloween. And if I remember correctly, the Dias de los Muertos, or the Dios de los Muertos in Mexican culture is going on right now. I think it was October 30th, or I think it is October 30th through November 1st. It's a very interesting and fun cultural what do I want to say, celebration of death, basically, which I think is something that we really don't talk about enough as a culture. Mostly, I mean, it's worldwide, but I think especially in America, I think it's something that we try and not talk about. If you haven't seen I think it's the Pixar movie Coco, that is definitely worth a watch, and it's, at the very least, it is a beautiful, beautiful movie. The CGI, the colors, it's absolutely gorgeous. So that alone is worth it. But it also, I think, if you don't know a lot about Dios de los Muertos, it gives you a lot more information about it. And I assume it's relatively close to real life because I'm sure that they did their research. They want to get all the cultural aspects correct. Anyway, I've talked enough. Thank you very much for listening, and until next time, this is Spencer reading the dictionary. Goodbye. Hello, word nerds, and welcome to a brand new episode of the dictionary. What is today? Today is the first day of November. I hope you had a very fun and very safe Halloween, although it was a Thursday, so you probably didn't do a whole lot. You probably celebrated the weekend before. I haven't celebrated at all. I think tonight? No. We already talked about that. We are going to talk about some words. Today is November, and I already said that. First word for this episode is arrogant, A-R-R-O-G-A-N-T. This is an adjective from the 14th century. 1. Exaggerating or disposed to exaggerate one's own worth or importance, often by an overbearing manner. We have an example, as in an arrogant official. Number 2, proceeding from or characterized by arrogance, as in an arrogant reply. And we have a synonym. It is the word proud. Arrogantly is an adverb, and the etymology says nothing terribly interesting, so we're going to skip it. Now we are going to move on to the word arrogate. Arrogate. This is a transitive verb from 1537 1a, to claim or seize without justification. 1b, to make undue claims to having. Synonym for that definition is the word assume. Number 2, to claim on behalf of another. Synonym is ascribe. Arrogation is a noun. And the etymology says this is from Latin arrogatus, which is from the verb arrogare, which is from ad plus rogare, which means to ask. And there's more at the word right, R-I-G-H-T. Ooh, we have a French word. It is arrondissement. Luckily, I actually know how to pronounce that one. It is spelled A-R-R-O-N-D-I-S-S-E-M-E-N-T. This is a noun from 1807. 1. An administrative district of some large French cities. Number 2. The largest division of a French department. And as I think I mentioned, I recently got back from Paris, and Paris is divided up into maybe around 15 arrondissements. And so that's kind of how they talk, like, oh, what arrondissement are you in? Where are you staying, etc., etc. And it's I think they're laid out sort of like a snail shell pattern, like a spiral pattern. It starts, number 1 is somewhere, and then I think it spirals out from there, or vice versa. I don't remember exactly. All right, let's move on to the first form of arrow. We have a second one coming up. So this is a noun from the 12th century. 1. A missile shot from a bow, and usually having a slender shaft, a pointed head, and feathers at the butt. Yep, I said the word butt. I did not realize that an arrow would also be called a missile. I guess that makes sense. I'm sure that there are some very... when we get to the word missile, I'm sure that the definition can be very vague, to cover a lot of ground in terms of what a missile could be. So an arrow is a missile. All right, number 2, something shaped like an arrow, especially a mark, as on a map or signboard, to indicate direction. The etymology says this is from Middle English arwe, A-R-W-E, which is from Old English, and it is akin to the, I'm guessing that's Gothic word arwazna, A-R-H-W-A-Z-N-A, and that just means arrow. And that is from Latin arcus, which means bow or arch or arc. We have a picture of arrows. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 arrows, it looks like. I'm not going to describe them. They're just 6 different types of arrows. One of them looks like it's more like an arrowhead, like a metal chiseled arrowhead attached to the end of something. 1 or 2 of them look like typical arrows that you would shoot from a bow, and then others look more like spears. All right, we are going to move on to the second form of arrow. It is an intransitive verb from 1827, to move fast and straight like an arrow in flight. Synonym is dart. Now we have arrowhead, all one word. This is a noun from the 14th century. 1. A wedge-shaped piercing tip usually fixed to an arrow. Number 2. Something resembling an arrowhead. Number 3. Any of a genus of marsh or aquatic plants of the water plantain family with leaves shaped like arrowheads. And the genus is Sagittaria. I think we already talked. Is Aries in the God, I'm blanking. The astrological signs, is Aries the one with the bow and arrow? I'm drawing a blank. But based on this description, I would have guessed Sagittarius is the one with the bow and arrow. but now I just don't know. All right, we're going to move on to arrowroot, all one word. This is a noun from 1696, 1A. Any of a genus of tropical American plants with tuberous roots, especially one whose roots yield an easily digestible edible starch. Easily digested edible starch, but I like saying digestible edible. Let's see, I paused for a minute there because there was a large chunk in parentheses, which is the genus Maranta, and it says Maranta of the family Marantaceae, or Marantaceae, which is the arrowroot family. Let's see, 1B, any of several plants that yield starch. And there is a parentheses here too, any of several plants, parentheses, as kuntai or kunti. I don't know what that is. It's a plant, I'm guessing. Coontie. All right, number 2, starch yielded by an arrowroot. We are going to move on to arrowwood, all one word. This is a noun from 1709. Any of several common viburnums, I think that's how it's pronounced, of eastern North America. And after the word viburnums, we have in parentheses, it says especially the scientific name Viburnum dentatum, Viburnum, next word Dentatum. No clue about anything I just read there. Now we have arrowworm, all one word. This is a noun from circa 1889. Any of a phylum of small planktonic worm-like marine organisms having curved bristles on either side of the head for seizing prey. And the phylum scientific name is Chaetognatha. Chaetognatha. There's that. Now we have the word arrowy. This is an adjective from 1616. 1, resembling or suggesting an arrow, as in arrowy pines, especially swiftly moving, as in the sky was radiant with arrowy bolts. And that is a quote from Mark Twain. I don't know where he wrote that. In one of his stories, probably. Number 2, consisting of arrows, as in arrowy showers. I have never heard of rain described that way. We are going to move on to arroyo, Arroyo. This is a noun from 1843. 1, a watercourse, as a creek, in an arid region. 2, a water-carved gully or channel. And the etymology just says this is a Spanish word. All right, now we have arroz con pollo. The pronunciation guide actually says arroz, like a TH sound, arroz. I guess, yes, if you are saying this with a Spanish accent, then yes, the C sounds or S sounds do have a TH. Which, supposedly, the story is that many years ago, the king of Spain had a lisp, and so he basically decreed that everybody would also talk with a lisp, and that is why, in Spanish, the S sounds are TH sounds. So, in that accent, it would be arroz con pollo. It is spelled A-R-R-O-Z, next word C-O-N, next word P-O-L-L-O. So this is a noun from 1938, a dish of chicken cooked with rice and usually flavored with saffron. And the etymology just says this is a Spanish word and it literally means rice with chicken. Next we have ARRT, all caps. This is an abbreviation for American Registry of Radiologic Technologists. And we have one more word for this episode. It is a fun one. It is the word arse, A-R-S-E, and this is a variation of ass, A-S-S. I guess technically, in my mind, I would call it a British variation because we don't usually say arse in America, but maybe it's not just British. So I have to pick the word of the episode. obviously there's definitely part of me that wants to pick arse, but I try to keep this as, clean as possible. I mean, arrow is a good one. I'm going to pick arrondissement, the French districts, because I was there, and actually, my wife, as I'm recording this, my wife is actually there as well. Not as well. Instead, what's the word I'm looking for? She went to Paris about a week after I got back because she wanted to go, and she couldn't come with me when I was there for work, so she is there enjoying herself, traveling alone. I think she's having a blast, eating great food, drinking some cappuccino and desserts and wine, and I don't think she's going to want to come home. But I need her to come home because it's lonely. It's lonely at home. All right, that's the end of the episode. Yes, arrondissement is the word of the episode. Thank you very much for listening. And until next time, this is Spencer reading the dictionary. Goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Welcome to this episode of the dictionary. Thank you for joining me. The first word for this episode is arsenal. Arsenal. This is a noun from 1555. 1a. An establishment for the manufacture or storage of arms and military equipment. 1b. A collection of weapons. Number 2, we just have the synonyms store and repertoire, as in the team's arsenal of veteran players. The etymology says this is Italian from the word arsenale, and ultimately from the Arabic dar sinaa. I'm sorry for the pronunciation. It is spelled D-A-R. That's the first word. There's a horizontal line over the A. And then the second word is spelled S-I-N-A apostrophe A. There's a little, I think it's a dot below the S, and there is another horizontal line over the first A. And that means house of manufacture. Is that where they manufacture arses? Next, we have arsenate. This is a noun from 1800, a salt or ester of an arsenic acid. And arsenic is our next word. We have two forms. We are going to start with the noun form. This is from the 14th century. 1. A trivalent and pentavalent metalloid poisonous element that is commonly metallic steel gray, crystalline, and brittle, and is used especially in wood preservatives, alloys, and semiconductors. And then it tells me to see the element table, which we haven't gotten to yet. It comes up every once in a while. Number 2, a poisonous trioxide, As2O3 or As4O6 of arsenic, used especially as an insecticide or weed killer, called also arsenic trioxide. And let's look at the etymology. This is from Middle English arsenic with a K at the end instead of a C. And it looks like that means orpiment, O-R-P-I-M-E-N-T. No clue what that is. And that is from the Latin arsenicum, which is from the Greek arsenikon, something like that. A couple different spellings of that. Oh no, the other one is arhenikon, and that is from the Syrian zarnig, and is of Iranian origin, akin to the AV. What's AV? That's a language. Don't know, sorry. The AV zaranya, which means gold, from the Sanskrit hari, H-A-R-I, which means yellowish, and there's more at the word yellow. That was a very diverse etymology description. Now we have the second form of arsenic. It's an adjective from 1801 of relating to or containing arsenic, especially with a valence of 5. And if we look at the first definition of the first form, it says trivalent or pentavalent. Of course, trivalent would mean 3, I'm assuming, and pentavalent would mean 5. Penta is 5. So that's probably related to the second form of arsenic here. A valence of 5. All right, moving on to arsenical. So it's arsenic with an A-L at the end. This is an adjective from 1605 and it means of relating to containing or caused by arsenic, as in arsenical poisoning. And arsenical is also a noun. And it's reminding me of, I guess it's reminding me of the guy, the actor, comedian Arsenio Hall. It just sort of sounds similar. So, arsenical Hall? I don't know. That's just a dumb joke. All right, next we have arsenide. This is a noun from 1854, a binary compound of arsenic with a more electropositive element. Now we have Arsenius. No, it's Arsenius. Arsenious. This is an adjective from 1810 of relating to or containing arsenic, especially when trivalent. Has a valence of 3. We're learning, people. Next we have arsenite. This is a noun from 1800, a salt or ester of an arsenious acid. Next we have arsenopyrite. Arsenopyrite. That's how you pronounce it. This is a noun from 1868, a silver white mineral consisting of a combined sulfide and arsenide of iron that occurs in prismatic orthorhombic crystals or in masses or grains, and that is the principal source of arsenic. I think it's actually orthorhombic. I remember Mark, when if you listen to his episode not too long ago, he had trouble with orthorhombic. Next we have arsine, arsine. This is a noun from 1869, a colorless, flammable, extremely poisonous gas, AsH3, with an odor like garlic. Also, a derivative of arsine. That was all one definition. In that AsH3, I'm pretty sure As in the periodic table stands for arsenic, and then H, I think, is hydrogen, so there's 3 hydrogen. Normally, I don't give those descriptions. I like garlic. It smells like garlic. Garlic is tasty. All right, where were we? We are on arsis, Arsis. This is a noun from the 14th century. 1a, the lighter or shorter part of a poetic foot, especially in quantitative verse. I have no idea what that means. Can you give me an example? I'm really stumbling over my words this morning. I also usually don't record in the morning. That could be part of the problem. All right, 1b. The accented or longer part of a poetic foot, especially in accentual verse. Number 2. The unaccented part of a musical measure. Compare to the word thesis. Now, normally when I see the word thesis, I think of the thesis of an essay, something like that. But in this case, it's talking about music. What's the thesis of the music? Is it the theme? The theme that comes back? Well, you would probably call that a theme. So is a thesis different than a theme? I don't know. But this is probably opposite. Arsis is probably opposite from thesis. Yeah. Next, we have the word arson. This is a noun. Oh, what about the etymology for arsis? Should we talk about that? I think we should. Let's see. This is a Latin or Greek word, and it means raising of the voice. Accented part of foot. This is from the Greek. Doesn't give me another word, which means upbeat or less important part of foot. And it literally means act of lifting. It is from erine, which means to lift. So it all has to do with something being emphasized or accented or not. That's the best I can figure out. All right, next we have the word arson. This is a noun from circa 1680. The willful or malicious burning of property as a building, especially with criminal or fraudulent intent. The etymology says this is from Anglo-French arsun, which is from ars, which is from the verb arder or ardre, which means to burn. and that is from the Latin ardere, which and there's more at the word ardor, A-R-D-O-R. Oh, I forgot to mention that arsonist is a noun, and arsonus, so not arsonist, that's I-S-T, arsonus with an O-U-S at the end is an adjective. My family and I were actually about 19, 20 years ago, were actually the victims of arson because somebody decided to light our garbage can on fire, which was in the alley, which was next to our garage. Turned out that there were many other people, or at least a few other houses within the previous weeks that had also had their garbage cans set on fire. But for them, that was all it was. For us, the garbage can was so close to the garage that the garage caught on fire and practically burned completely down. We lost many, many things. It was basically a storage area, so there were lots and lots of things that we had in there that burned. Cars got ruined. Everything was destroyed, basically, and had to get a whole new garage and new cars, and it was a fun, fun time. We are going to move on to arsphenamine. Let's double-check the pronunciation. Arsphenamine. Yep, A-R-S-P-H-E-N-A-M-I-N-E. This is a noun from 1917, a light yellow toxic hygroscopic powder, C12, Cl2, H14, As2, N2, dash O2, 2H2O. Wow, that was complicated. So we're going to start this over without all of the letters and numbers, and then maybe I'll come back to them. This is a light yellow toxic hygroscopic powder formerly used in the treatment especially of syphilis and yaws. Yaws is Y-A-W-S. The scientific letters and numbers are C12, Cl2, H14, As2, N2, dash O2, and then it looks like there's a dot, then the number 2, and then H2O. Let's see. So this is a combination of arsenic and phenamine, and that's where we get arsphenamine. All right, we are going to move on to, wow. All right, this is kind of a big, all right. We're going to do the first form of 4. It is the word art, A-R-T. Let's see. The first form is short, so we're going to do that. The second form is long. And it goes on to the next column. I'm sort of trying to figure out what to do as I'm doing this. Okay, I have a new plan. So we're going to do the definitions for the second form, but we're going to skip the synonym part, which is what is mostly on the second column, and that is going to be saved for the next episode. Weird. I know, I'm breaking all the rules. All right, so let's start with the first form of art. It just says it is archaic, present 2D singular of be. Okay. So the etymology, so it's a form of the word be, like I think we talked about this before. I be doing this dictionary reading thing. I art. All right, so this is from Old English, ert, E-A-R-T, akin to the Old Norse est, or ert, which means thou, or no, thou is in parentheses, and then the word art. And then also Old English is, which means is. So it's just another form of, I mean, you've heard it in Old English texts and things. Anyway, we are going to move on to the second form of art. This is the one that's a noun. That's from the 13th century, that has a lot of definitions and a lot of synonym information. So we are going to dig into that now. Number 1, skill acquired by experience, study, or observation, as in the art of making friends. I'm still learning that art. 2A, a branch of learning, : 2A1, one of the humanities. 2A2, plural, so arts. We have the synonym liberal arts. To be is archaic. We have these synonyms learning and scholarship. Number 3, an occupation requiring knowledge or skill, as in the art of organ building. That must be an art because organs are complicated and very, very cool. 4a, the conscious use of skill and creative imagination, especially in the production of aesthetic objects. Also, works so produced. 4b1, the synonym is fine arts. 4b2, one of the fine arts. 4b3, a graphic art. 5a is archaic, a skillful plan. 5b, the quality or state of being artful. And in case you're curious, 5b is at the top of the second column of page 69. And number 6, decorative or illustrative elements in printed matter. So like I said, we are going to skip this synonym information for the next episode. We're going to hold it off for the next episode. And I now have to pick a word of the episode, which, I really kind of want to pick art just because it's art. I mean, art is art, and it's art. So that's going to be the end of the episode. Thank you very much for listening, and until next time, thank you, thank you, thank you. I just said that. All right, this is the end. Goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Thank you for joining me on this journey called the dictionary. Let's see, today is November 3rd, and in my notes I have written that daylight savings time ends. So I think November 3rd, let's see, 1, 2, 3, yeah. So this is a Sunday. If you're listening to this today, make sure that your phone changes the hour in the middle of the night. It should do it automatically, but you probably have some clocks around that won't do it automatically, like a bedside clock, a microwave clock, a stove clock, another clock hanging up on a wall. Make sure that you adjust it accordingly. And I think what happens is at 2 a.m., it should go to 1 a.m. How do you feel about daylight savings times? Daylight savings time. I think it is archaic. I think we need to get rid of it. I think there are some states that don't do it. I think there are some countries that don't do it. Little known fact, France had theirs last week. I know that because Sharon, as I'm recording this, is in France, and before she went, she found out that daylight savings time happened last week. So why are we still doing this? I realize there are still farms. The whole reason it was created was for farming purposes and, maximizing sunlight and all that. But, at this point, we've got other ways, I don't know. I just think it's dumb and nonsense and causes more problems, honestly, than it needs to. Causes more problems than problems it fixes. Is that right? All right. I talked enough about that. Let us talk about some synonyms for the word art. All right, here we go. Art. Oh, and in case you didn't listen to the last episode, I read the definitions for the second form of art, A-R-T, and I skipped the synonyms because they were all on the next column. And I don't like to break my rules. But I guess I'm sort of breaking one by breaking up this word. Synonyms: art, skill, cunning, artifice, and craft mean the faculty of executing well what one has devised. Art implies a personal, unanalyzable creative power, as in the art of choosing the right word. Skill stresses technical knowledge and proficiency, as in the skill of a glassblower. Cunning suggests ingenuity and subtlety in devising, inventing, or executing, as in a mystery plotted with great cunning. Artifice suggests technical skill, especially in imitating things in nature, as in believed realism in film could be achieved only by artifice. Craft may imply expertness in workmanship, as in the craft of a master goldsmith. That is the synonym for the word art, the second form of it, because now we are going to move on to the third and fourth forms. Don't worry, they're not as long. Third form of art is an adjective from 1868, produced as an artistic effort or for decorative purposes, as in an art film. Also as in art dolls. What are art dolls? Also as in art music. Interesting. All right, now the fourth and final form of art, that was a lot of F sounds, is an abbreviation for 1, article, 2, artificial, or 3, artillery. Now we have a suffix, dash, ART, and it just says see the suffix ard, ARD, which we must have read before. Now we have Art Deco, 2 words. This is, whoa, there's a lot of etymology information. This is a noun from 1966, a popular design style of the 1920s and 1930s, characterized especially by bold outlines, geometric and zigzag forms, and the use of new materials as plastic. The etymology says, this is from a French term. It's Art Deco from the Exposition Internationale des Arts Décoratifs et Industriels Modernes, which is an exposition of modern, decorative, and industrial arts held in Paris, France in 1925. It looks like Arts Décoratifs. They just sort of shortened that to Art Deco. My wife and I were lucky enough to travel to New Zealand a few years back, and we visited a town for a few days called Napier. I think that was the name of it, Napier, New Zealand. And they're on the East Coast, and in the 30s, they were hit by a huge earthquake, which makes sense because New Zealand is on the Ring of Fire, where a lot of earthquakes happen. So they were hit by a massive earthquake that basically destroyed the whole town. And because it was in the 30s, and because Art Deco was the style of the time, they rebuilt the place all in Art Deco. And so when you go visit there now, pretty much every building is in the Art Deco style. So it's very, very interesting. It very much feels like you're going back in time. It's a very cool town. I didn't really get to explore it as much as I would have liked because I was actually sick while I was there, and that sucked. All right, we are going to move on to artifact, ARTEFACT, and I spell it because it is the chiefly British variation of the word artifact, which is spelled ARTIFACT. So we are not going to get the definition today. All right, next we have Artemis, capital ARTEMIS. This is a noun. Doesn't give me a year because it's probably too old for time. A Greek moon goddess often portrayed as a virgin huntress, compared to the word Diana. So I think there's a new book called Artemis. If I remember correctly, it is by the guy who wrote The Martian, which got turned into a movie. I don't really know a lot about the book, but I liked The Martian, the book and the movie, so I'm curious to read it, or more than likely listen to the audiobook. And compared to the word Diana, that's interesting. I'm wondering if that's related to Wonder Woman at all. Her name is Diana. I just watched the movie for the first time, actually. And I think they're gods, goddesses, they're all, I don't know the whole story, but definitely the Greek gods are in there. They talk about Zeus and stuff at the beginning. And so is she Artemis? Is Diana the Roman name of Artemis? I don't know. I don't know my Greek and Roman gods. All right, we are going to move on to Artemisia, or Artemisia. I think that's how it's pronounced. Artemisia. This is a noun from the 14th century. Any of a genus of aromatic composite herbs and shrubs, as sagebrush. Compare to the number 1 definition for wormwood. Is wormwood mentioned in Nightmare Before Christmas? Wormwood. I don't remember. There's some weird things. God, if it is, I didn't realize that was a real thing. Let's see. This is from the Latin artemisia, which is from Greek, or it is a Greek word because it's not giving me a new word, and that means wormwood. Thank you very much. All right, now we have a prefix, artery or arterio. Let's see. Number 1, it means artery, as in arteriogram. Number 2, arterial and, as in arteriovenous. And yep, this is from Greek arteria, which means artery. Now we have arterial. This is the first form of 2. It's an adjective from the 15th century, 1a, of or relating to an artery. You don't want your arteries clogged up. You want to eat healthy and exercise. I would actually argue eating healthy is a bit more important than exercise, but exercise is incredibly important. Number 1b, relating to or being the bright red blood present in most arteries that has been oxygenated in lungs or gills. Number 2, do you have gills? I have never met a human that has gills. Number 2, of relating to or constituting through traffic. Arterially is an adverb. Now we are going to move on to the second form of arterial. This is a noun from 1932, a through street or highway. Now we have arteriogram. This is a noun from 1929, a radiograph of an artery made by arteriography. I don't know, that's just a fun word to say. Arteriography. Which, fun times we're having. That is the next word, arteriography. This is a noun from 1929, the radiographic visualization of an artery after injection of a radiopaque substance. Arteriographic is an adjective. Next we have arteriole. I think that's how it's pronounced. arteriole. This is a noun from 1830. Any of the small terminal twigs of an artery that ends in capillaries. So they're just the very small arteries, I think? Arteriole. Arteriolar is an adjective. Now we get to a word that might be hard to say. Arteriosclerosis. Hey, Mom, I said it. This is a noun from 1881. A chronic disease characterized by abnormal thickening and hardening of the arterial walls with resulting loss of elasticity, compared to the word arteriosclerosis. So it had a slightly different start to the word. Arteriosclerotic is an adjective or a noun. I think we're going to do 2 more for this episode. Next one is arteriovenous, which I think came up in the definition for a previous word. Here. It was actually the example for the prefix artery or arterio, and it meant arterial and the example was arteriovenous. And so here we go with arteriovenous. Maybe we'll get a little bit more information. This is an adjective from circa 1880 of relating to or connecting the arteries and veins. So that is where the previous definition comes in. Arterial and. So what's the and? The and, what comes after the and? It is the last part of the word, which is venous, venous, which in this case is talking about veins, arteries and veins. As in an arteriovenous fistula. One more for this episode. It is the word arteritis. 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 This is a noun from 1836, and it means arterial inflammation. Now we have to pick a word. This was a very artery-heavy episode, but I mean, yeah, we'll just pick. Well, let's see. We haven't even said the word artery yet, which is going to be the beginning of the next episode. So we're going to pick Art Deco as the word of the episode, and I might pick artery as the word of the next episode, unless I find something that I like better. But I guess arterial can be a runner-up word. That is it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. If you're still listening to this episode, if you listen to the end of each episode, I very much appreciate you for going all the way through. Go send me an email. Check out Instagram. I post photos. I then tweet them. I don't really, and put them on Facebook. I don't really do other Facebook or tweets separate than that these days, but maybe I should. Thank you very much for listening. Until next time, this is Spencer reading you the dictionary, and goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Thank you for joining me. This is a brand new episode of the dictionary. Let us get to the words. First word for this episode is artery, A-R-T-E-R-Y. This is a noun from the 14th century. 1. Any of the tubular, branching, muscular, and elastic-walled vessels that carry blood from the heart through the body. Number 2. A channel, as a river or highway, of transportation or communication, especially the main channel in a branching system. This is from, Middle English, artery, from Latin arteria, from Greek arteria, and it is akin to the Greek aorti, which means aorta. Now we have artesian wall, 2 words. This is a noun from 1835. 1. A well in which water is under pressure, especially one in which the water flows to the surface naturally. Number 2. A deep well. This is French from the word artisien, which literally means of artois. That is A-R-T-O-I-S with a capital A. That is from Old French, from artise, which is from Artois, France. Artois, France. So Artois is a city or a region in France, and artesian means of that area. So that area must have water, or has a deep well, or something related to water. Now we have art form. It is 2 words. It's a noun from 1868. 1. A form or medium of expression recognized as fine art, as in, sees dance as both an art form and an entertainment. Number 2A. An unconventional form or medium in which impulses regarded as artistic may be expressed. As in, describe pinball as a great American art form. And that is from Tom Buckley. And yes, I think pinball is definitely an art form. At least back in the day when people would bump the table to make the metal ball do what they wanted it to. I never did that. All right, 2B. An undertaking or activity enhanced by a high level of skill or refinement, as in easy conversation, an art form in peril of being lost to contemporary schedules. And that is from Joanna Pruis. So I guess she's saying easy conversation is an art form, and we are losing that skill. Now we have the word artful. A-R-T-F-U-L. This is an adjective from 1609. 1. Performed with or showing art or skill, as in an artful performance on the violin. 2A. Using or characterized by art and skill. Synonym is dexterous. D-E-X-T-E-R-O-U-S, as in an artful prose stylist. 2B. Adroit in attaining an end, usually by insinuating or indirect means. Synonym is wily, W-I-L-Y, as in an artful cross-examiner. Number 3, we have the synonym artificial, as in trim walks and artful bowers or bowers, and that is from William Wordsworth. He's definitely a word wizard, that Wordsworth. Trim walks and artful bowers or bowers, and it means artificial. Okay, we have a final synonym for all definitions. It is the word sly, S-L-Y. Artfully is an adverb, and artfulness is a noun. Now we are moving on to art glass, 2 words. This is a noun from 1886. Articles of glass designed primarily for decorative purposes, especially novelty glassware. Now we have art historical, 2 words. This is an adjective from 1933, of or relating to the history of art. Art historically is an adverb. Now we have art house, 2 words. This is a noun from 1951, and we just have the synonym art theater. In Chicago, we have at least one art house theater, and I'm blanking on the name. But yeah, they'll show. Well, I saw The Room there. I also saw Suspiria on 35 millimeter. Yeah, they'll show some fun movies that you don't usually get to see, and it is called. Say it with me now. It is called. Starts with an M. I also saw, let's see, Mark Maron was in town to play his newish movie, not Joker, because he isn't Joker, which I haven't seen yet, but I think I'm going to go see it in a couple days. Why can I not think of this theater's name? It's going to kill me. Pause while I try and think of it. All right, forget it. Something with an M. This is a common problem with me. I often cannot think of the words that are at the front of my brain, and when I'm put on the spot like this, when I'm being recorded by a microphone, that's even worse. All right, we're going to move on to the prefix Arthur or Arthro, A-R-T-H-R or A-R-T-H-R-O. This doesn't give me a year. It just means joint, like your elbow or your wrist, as in arthropathy. It is from the Greek arthron, akin to the Greek arariskin, which means to fit, and there's more at the word arm. So maybe the 2 pieces, the 2 bones fit together, and that makes a joint. Maybe that's where they got that from. All right, we have arthralgia. Nope. Arthralgia. A-R-T-H-R-A-L-G-I-A. This is a noun from circa 1848. Pain in one or more joints. Arthralgic is an adjective. And while I'm reading the next ones, I'm going to try and look up what this theater is called. All right. We read arthralgia. Next, we have arthritic. Music box. It's called the music box. How could I not come up with that? I knew it started with an M. All right. Arthritic. This is an adjective from the 14th century, one of relating to or affected with arthritis, as in arthritic hands. Number 2, seemingly affected with or caused by arthritis, as in an arthritic legal system. Also as in a story moving with arthritic slowness. That's terrible. Arthritic is also a noun, and arthritically is an adverb. Next we have arthritis. This is a noun from 1543. Inflammation of joints due to infectious, metabolic, or constitutional causes. Also, a specific arthritic condition. We are going to move on to arthrodesis, or no, it's arthrodesis. A-R-T-H-R-O, that is our joint prefix, plus D-E-S-I-S. This is a noun from circa 1901. A surgical immobilization of a joint so that the bones grow solidly together. That is from the prefix arthur, which is, plus the Greek desis, which means binding. and that is from the Greek word dein, D-E-I-N, which means to bind. So I love words like this, situations like this. Also, if we go back to the previous one, the previous episode, arteriovenous, you can learn, if you know the pieces, and if you know like the Latin or Greek roots or whatever it is, if you know what that is, which obviously takes some knowledge and education, you can figure out what a word is about. So in this case, we know that arthro is related to the joints, and we now know that desis is all about binding. So it's about, it says surgical immobilization of a joint so that the bones grow solidly together. All right, we are going to move on to arthropathy. I'm guessing it's related to joints. This is a noun from circa 1860, a disease of a joint. Not a good thing to have. All right, we are going to do one more word for this episode. It is the word arthropod, A-R-T-H-R-O-P-O-D, and it does go on to the next page a little bit, so there will be a page flip at some point. This is a noun from 1876. Any of a phylum of invertebrate animals, as insects, arachnids, and crustaceans, that have a segmented body and jointed appendages, there's the word joint, a usually chitinous exoskeleton, molted at intervals, and a dorsal anterior brain connected to a ventral chain of ganglia. Arthropod is an adjective, or also an adjective, and arthropodin, there we go, is also an adjective. And the etymology says this is from New Latin arthropoda, which is from Arthur plus the Greek pod, or pous, P-O-U-S, which means foot. I don't know why. And there's more at the word foot. But yes, they are, their exoskeleton is all jointed, and so that's where we get the word joint, the prefix arthro in there. So let's see, at the end of the previous episode, I said that I would probably pick artery as the word of the episode, and I think I'm going to stick with that. Even though most of the artery-related words are in the previous episode, I wanted to give them some love, so I'm throwing it in this episode, and I think that's it. I say a lot. I hope you appreciate that. We learned a lot in this episode and the last one. Thank you very much for listening. Until next time, this is Spencer reading the dictionary still. Goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Welcome to this episode of the dictionary. Thank you very much for joining me on this adventure. I really do appreciate it. It does seem like there are more and more of you every day or every week joining me on this dictionary adventure. So here's to you. I clink my glass. I cheers you. I slancha you. That's another way to say cheers. So let's start saying some words. All right, we are at the top of page 70. That is correct. We hit 70. Let's see. First word for this episode is arthroscope. I'm thinking this is related to, let's see, what was that last prefix we had? Arthro, related to joints. This is probably something related to joints. It is spelled A-R-T-H-R-O-S-C-O-P-O. And while I'm thinking of it, I remembered something that I said that was incorrect. Let's see. 4 episodes ago, I was talking about arrows, the picture of the arrows, and I think I said one of them looks like it's a metal arrow that had been chiseled. I meant to say it chiseled from a rock, not metal. I don't know why I said metal. Sometimes words come out of my mouth and I'm not aware of them, and sometimes I try to make words come out of my mouth and I can't think of what the words are. So I got both problems. All right, arthroscope. I think I finished spelling it. I don't know why I wouldn't have. This is a noun from 1925. If someone has 19, if you've been, forget it. A fiber optic instrument surgically inserted through an incision near a joint, as the knee, and used to visually examine the joint interior. I really hope I never have this happen to me. I would probably be out, under anesthesia, but still, that doesn't sound cool. Arthroscopic is an adjective. Now we have arthroscopy, but I think it is more properly pronounced arthroscopy. This is a noun from 1931, examination of a joint with an arthroscope. Also, surgery on a joint using an arthroscope. I want to see that children's cartoon show Arthur. I think that's what it's called, Arthur, but he's using a scope. I don't know, arthroscope. That's sort of what it sounds like. All right, now we have arthrosis. Is that right? And wait, is the last one arthroscopy? Arthroscopy. I honestly don't remember what I said, but this one is arthrosis. Arthro. Yeah, SIS. This is a noun from 1634. 1. An articulation between bones. 2. A degenerative disease from a joint. The etymology says this is from Greek arthrosis, which means jointing or articulation, and that is from arthroon, which means to articulate. Now we're going to go to arthrospore, something like that. This is a noun from 1895, and we have the 1B definition for the word oidium, O-I-D-I-U-M. And here we have that word Arthur, or the name Arthur. That's funny that I already brought that up, although I guess it's not that funny since they both start with A-R-T-H. This does have a capital A. It is a noun from the 13th century, a legendary king of the Britons whose story is based on traditions of a 6th century military leader. Now we have the word Arthurian, also with a capital A. This is an adjective from 1612 of or relating to King Arthur and his court. And if you've never seen Monty Python and the Search for the Holy Grail, or maybe it's just And the Holy Grail, I highly, highly, highly recommend that movie. Although you probably should be above a certain age to watch it. Let's see. Now we are going to move on to artichoke. I was just talking about artichokes with somebody a few days ago. This is a noun from 1530. 1. A tall Mediterranean composite herb resembling a thistle with coarse pinnately incised leaves. Or is it pinnately incised leaves? Also, its edible immature flower head, which is cooked as a vegetable. Number 2, we just have the synonym Jerusalem artichoke. So that's probably just a specific kind of artichoke that is often just called artichoke. The etymology says this is Italian, or an Italian dialectic version, something, which is articioco, Articicocco. I don't know when the C turns into a ch sound, so artichoco, probably something like that. Ultimately from the Arabic, al-kurshuf, which means the artichoke. There is a scientific name, it is Cynara, C-Y-N-A-R-A, Scolimus, S-C-O-L-Y-M-U-S. Now we have the first form of the word article. This is a noun from the 13th century. 1a, a distinct, often numbered section of a writing. 1b, a separate clause. 1c, a stipulation in a document as a contract or a creed, as in articles of independent... Wait, I'm losing my place. Articles of indenture. Oh, sorry. I'm thinking it was independent, but it's indenture. The example, again, is articles of indenture. That word just went over to the second line, so I got really, really confused. Here we go with 1D. A non-fictional prose composition usually forming an independent part of a publication. And that's part of the reason why I got confused, because the word independent is directly below the word indenture. So I was mixing those up. And then part of a publication, in parentheses, as a magazine. Number 2, An item of business. Synonym is matter, matter. Number 3, any of a small set of words or affixes, as a, an, and the, used with nouns to limit or give definiteness to the application. Number 4, a member of a class of things, especially an item of goods, as in articles of value. 5, a thing or person of a particular and distinctive kind or class, as in the genuine article or genuine article, depending on how you want to say it. This is from Latin articulus, which means joint or division, or it's also a diminutive of artus, which means joint or limb, and that is akin to the Greek arariskein, which means to fit, and there's more at the word arm. Now we have the second form of article. This is a transitive verb. I'm trying to remember. The last one was a noun. I don't remember if I mentioned that. But this one is a transitive verb from 1820, to bind by articles as of apprenticeship. Now we have a phrase. It is article of faith. That is from the 15th century, and it means a basic belief. Now we have articulable. Articulable, yep. So it's articulable. This is an adjective from 1833, capable of being articulated. And I'm hearing some noise from the microphone cable, so I want to adjust that so I don't get any noise. That might work. You probably can't even hear it. All right, next is articulacy. Articulacy. This is a noun from 1918. It is chiefly British, and it means the quality or state of being articulate. Sometimes I'm articulate, and sometimes I am not. Now we have articular. This is an adjective from the 15th century, of or relating to a joint, as in articular cartilage. That would be the cartilage around a joint. The cartilage in your nose and in your ear is not articular. Now we have the first form of articulate, and this is going to be the last word for this episode. We are going to read the second form of articulate at the beginning of the next episode. All right, here we go with articulate. This is an adjective. Oh, it is spelled articulate. That honestly is more for my purposes because I have to write the word in the file name when I'm editing and exporting and uploading and all that, and I just want to make sure that I have spelled it correctly. So I just listen to myself spell it. All right, this is an adjective from 1586. 1a, divided into syllables or words meaningfully arranged. Synonym is intelligible. 1b, able to speak. 1c, expressing oneself readily, clearly, or effectively, as in an articulate teacher. Also, expressed in this manner, as in an articulate argument. And now I don't remember when I first said the word, did I say articulate or articulate? I think I said articulate, because I think that, yes, the next form is going to be articulate. So we are going to keep on going with articulate. We left off at an articulate teacher, also expressed in this manner, as in an articulate argument. 2a, consisting of segments united by joints. Synonym is jointed, as in articulate animals. I assume that we humans would be articulate animals. 2b, distinctly distinctly marked off. Let's see, articulately is an adverb, and articulateness is a noun. The etymology says this is from Latin articulatus, which means jointed. That is from the verb articulare, which is from articulus, and it doesn't say what that verb actually means. Does it mean to articulate, to move as a joint? I don't know. It doesn't say. Let's see. What is the word of the episode? Well, I like artichokes. Although, I guess, unless you dip them in something super tasty, they're not all that interesting. They've got some fiber, that's for sure, and I'm sure they've got some good health benefits. And I can find a good picture of one to post on Instagram. If you are not following my Instagram and you want to see pictures of things that are mentioned in that day's episode, go check out the Instagram. I think it's just at dictionarypod. All the contact info for that, email, Facebook, Twitter, is in the episode details. And go ahead and check those out. And that is the end of the episode. Thank you very, very much for listening. And until next time, this is Spencer reading you the dictionary. Goodbye.